Gilmore Girls is one of the most annoying TV shows on the planet, but I love it. I'm Dan, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to talk about one of my favourite TV shows that really me off, man. The first one, and it's a big one, is that Lorelei gets given all this money to send Rory to private school. It's an opportunity that not everyone can have, right? And the condition from her parents, who give her the money, is that every Friday night they've got to come for dinner. A lovely dinner, cooked by a professional cook with all the trimmings, and there's a drinks bar, and they can have cocktails and wine and whatever they want in a lovely big house. And Lorelei's like, no, ugh, you're so unfair, this is so unjust. Ugh, I don't want to go, and try to find excuses not to go. And it's like, suck it up a little bit, do you know what I mean? You've just been given thousands of pounds to help your daughter, and you can't do this one thing. And I know Emily is manipulative, all right? I know that her mum especially, but her dad too, are manipulative people, and they're not the best parents, and she struggled with them, so I know there's a lot of history there. But at the same time, Lorelei never really takes the time to see any of it from her parents' point of view. Yeah, Emily Gilmore was harsh, insensitive, and manipulative, but I would also say she was massively insecure. I think she always genuinely wanted the best for her daughter and granddaughter. I think that was obvious throughout the show. She never went about it the right way, she never explicitly said it, but she'd never had to navigate that kind of tough relationship because she was in such a position of privilege. She judged every choice that her daughter made, and that was definitely totally unfair. But I just think there was a lot of jealousy there. Like Emily said, her life was quite shallow. She'd never actually achieved anything for herself. It was all her husband's money and family money. Whereas Lorelei kind of went off at 16, created a family, built a community and a career, all by herself with very little help. And I think Emily was a bit jealous of that. And she doesn't understand it either as a life choice. But I think there's a lot of, you know, Emily looking over at Lorelei and thinking, oh, imagine if I did that, you know? She did what I had never had the opportunity to do because, you know, their family, their life was you go to that weird ball thing where you were like auctioned off to boys and men, and then you marry one of them, and then you look after the house. And by look after the house, I mean you manage the people that do the cleaning and the cooking, and you, I don't know, what you organise social events. That's basically it, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of jealousy there. I think in the reboot, the pair could understand each other a lot more. And yeah, I just, you know, I completely get both sides of it. And I get why Lorelei had this kind of battle and didn't want to go to these Friday night dinners. But at the same time, for the amount of money and the opportunity you're giving your daughter, suck it up. Like, I just found it so frustrating every time when she was like making excuses or really acting like it was the worst thing in the world, having to go to this luxury, lovely dinner for like 2 hours on a Friday night. Do you know what I mean? I'm not done. Another thing that annoys me about the situation is that Emily at least understands her privilege because she bathes in it, right? Her whole life is built on this privilege. Whereas Rory and Lorelei never fully accept it within themselves. They never kind of accept that they are from a place of privilege, especially Lorelei, who grew up there for 16 years. And they have this source of money open to them if they need it. You know, they have a fallback, they have a safety blanket, and the other people in Stars Hollow don't. So sometimes they talk to people like Luke and Jess and Patty and Babette and Suki and Jackson, and you're like, you sound so bloody stupid right now because you are coming from this position of privilege, and this person you're talking to has had it so much harder than you, and you're like whining to them constantly. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, I love them. Like, I love Lorelei, I love Rory, I love every character apart from a couple. We'll get to that. But sometimes I watch it and I'm like, oh, can you hear yourself? Can you hear yourself? And yeah, I know they're not real, but we're gonna pretend they are because that's how I live. Another thing that annoys me about it is like the whole Rory's boyfriend battle. Like, are you team Dean? Are you team Jess? Are you team Logan? In my mind, it's team Jess or nothing. I don't understand people that are team Dean. Is anyone team Dean? Surely not. And then people that are Team Logan, I kind of understand it, but it annoys me because there's a clear winner for me, and that winner is Jess. Woo! Dean is like a big no, right? There's one huge red flag. Like, he's a small town boy, never wants to be anything other than a small town kind of guy, which is absolutely fine, great for him, but it doesn't match Rory's ambition and Rory's dreams and passion to go to Harvard, first of all, but also to be who she wants to be. And obviously the big thing, he cheats on his wife with Rory, he's very manipulative about the whole thing, he makes so many bad choices, and at the end of the day, like, he's just not right for Rory at all. Very good looking though, so maybe he gets like half a point for that. That's definitely a full point. Logan for me represents everything that Rory would have been had Lorelei never ran away. If Lorelei had accepted the life that was in front of her with the Gilmores, then Rory would have grown up to be a Logan. And I can't stand it. I don't really like rich people, so maybe it's maybe it's a personal thing. He doesn't really work hard for anything, like everything's handed to him. He is smug and egotistical. He takes risks knowing there's no real consequence because he's so rich and his family is so powerful that he can get out of any situation. And he doesn't really consider how that would impact Rory, who is from a different background and a different setting. I feel there's this thing where Lorelei feels like she escaped a certain life, and even though that life is cushioned and that life is full of money and that life is full of opportunity, she saw all the bad sides of it and has chosen this humble little life in Stars Hollow. And as a viewer, you get very sucked into her mentality and you get very sucked into this lovely little country life way of living with a little shop and a little cafe, and you know everyone, and you have these little silly events in different seasons of the year. I feel like you just really get into that. So when you watch the show and you see what Logan is presenting Rory with, I'm like, no, Rory is like this little small town girl who's got big ambitions and big dreams, but like, she's not this egotistical, privileged twerp who will just get everything they want because they are who they are. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, I don't like Logan as a person, I think. But I do see why people see that they're a good fit together. But for me, it is Jess every single time. Jess challenges Rory in every single way. Like, intellectually, he challenges her because he's also very clever, and he pushes her, and he's like, he can see who she can be, and he can see that she's getting distracted, and he's like, no, 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 you deserve better, you can do this. Like, he really pushes her. I think we also see this, like, a level of emotional maturity unlock within Rory when she meets Jess, and she can understand Jess much more than Lorelei ever can, which is again annoying because Lorelei's a grown-ass woman. But look, Rory and Jess, their dynamic and how it builds, it's refreshing for Rory, and you can see her mind work as she kind of gets to know him and gets to realise that actually there are people in this world who aren't just going to accept you for who you are. They are going to challenge you. They are going to drive you to be who they can see you should be, or they are going to question your morals or question your views because sometimes you're not right. I mean, it's hard for me to, sometimes I'm not right. What? No, that can't be true. That can't be right. But yeah, Jess is from a troubled background. He has struggled with his family. He doesn't have a lot when it comes to Stars Hollow. He sleeps in the same room as his uncle. You know, he's come from a troubled background, hasn't he, really? And I think people give him a hard time for some of the stuff he does, and I get it. Like, he does some very questionable things, very questionable, and I think you have to hold characters to that, and you have to think, right, yeah, he did do that. I think the other thing to consider with it is that they are very young, these characters, these Rory and Jess and Dean, when we meet them, and Lane, and they're all very young, and the mistakes they make are a direct result of how they are feeling and things that have impacted them that they can't control. They haven't got the emotional maturity to control certain things and to understand and realise certain things. And I think you see that a lot with bursts of anger and things people say and things people do. But in the same vein, Jess as a character grows the most out of anyone. He develops throughout the show and also in the reboot. Like, he grows so much, and he gives me such a sense of, like, pride. Like, I feel proud. I don't know him, he's not real. No, he's not real. But I feel very proud of the character when I see him later down the line, because, you know, he's come from one place, he's gone to another, and he hasn't had much help in between. Luke is the only person who's really helped him, and even that, Luke wasn't the most forthcoming with the help. But yeah, he battled. He had to battle everyone, everything in his life to get to where he got to. And yeah, like, I love Jess, and I think Jess would have given that to Rory. I think Rory would have ended up in a very different place had she ended up with Jess. She would not be writing for the Stars Hollow Gazette, let me tell you. More annoying stuff. Luke and Lorelei. Like the whole will they, won't they, are they on, are they off? Like, of course they're gonna end up together. You're not Ross and Rachel, right? You're gonna be together. We all knew that. We knew that from like, I feel like I knew that from episode like 3. I was like, oh, these two are gonna end up together. And then they made us wait for it. Like, they make you wait for it and they tease it, and then Christopher comes back and then he gets married, and like Luke gets married, and you're just like, what is this nonsense? Because I feel like when I watch it, I feel like we just missed out on so much domesticated bliss between Lorelei and Luke. And I feel like they could have made that so good. If they hadn't focused so much on the will they, won't they, I feel like those two together, it could have been so much fun. It could have been so much fun. And it annoys me. It just annoys me. Christopher, he annoys me. And Sherry, that whole thing. Every time Christopher comes back onto my screen, I'm like, I want to punch you in the face, please. Maybe it's just the men in the show that leave something to be desired. Like, I'd say apart from Luke and Jackson and Max. Oh, Max. The one that got away. I thought maybe it's just the men that annoy me. Taylor Dozy. Ah, that man makes my skin crawl, makes my blood boil every time he comes on my screen, and his whole purpose is just to make everyone's life that little bit more difficult. Do you know what I mean? And he's such a job's worth, and he just wants to, like, I don't think he does it on purpose, but everything he does just makes everyone else's life that little bit more difficult. And I hate that. Those people, that we all have them. We all have those people in our lives. And do you know what I mean? Like, if I could get rid of them, I would. I know a lot of the Stars Hollow residents are written as caricatures. That's what sitcoms are, right? You have loads of caricatures, and some have more depth than others. But Taylor just had, for me, he had no redeeming quality. No redeeming quality. Like, at least with Kirk, he was annoying, but it all comes from a place of, like, he doesn't really get it. He's trying to help. He's trying to be a friendly neighbour. He doesn't really understand that he's being annoying. He's annoying people, right? And you feel a bit sorry for him sometimes. But Taylor, oh my God, that man. Lane's character arc actually makes me fuming. It makes me furious. Because she gave up on her dreams, right, of being like in a rock band and being a musician. But not only did she give up on her dreams, her man lives out those dreams. Like, it's just salt in the wound that she didn't deserve. And she has twins, and she struggles, and it's hard, and her mother kind of comes around in a way, but also doesn't. And Rory is useless. Like, Rory's barely there, and like, doesn't offer much support. Lorelei, even though she's helped raise Lane, do you know what I mean? She's helped build this person and mould her into who she is. Like, where's the help, Lorelei? And then Lane just ends up living this frustrating, stressful life where she's a mother and a wife and nothing else. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's frustrating because she was so young. She could have had all that. She could have had both. We could have seen her have this hugely successful career and be a massive rock star and also have the kids and the husband. But no, she couldn't have that. She had to give up for that. And I get it. I know that the show is like, you become your parents and you become your mother, and, you know, like, Jane becomes Mrs. Kim because she just has kids and that's her, like, main thing, and Lorelei turns into Emily in a way, and Rory becomes more like Lorelei, and I get it. But my God, Lane deserves so much better, and it makes me so sad. Lane deserved Dave. That's what she deserved. Damn the OC. The first time I watched the show, Paris was on my list as well. But I grew to love Paris. So now when I rewatch it, the scenes that annoyed me the first time through, I'm like, oh, it's fine because we understand the character now. We know her. We love her. I love Paris. I won't hear a bad word said about her. The only thing that does annoy me with Paris is that she should have been gay. I was like convinced. I was like the whole way through. I was like, well, obviously at some point Paris is gonna realise that she's gay and get with a woman and be lovely and be all nice. And no, and you know, there's a severe lack of queer representation in the Gilmore Girls, right? It's the same for every night you show, and like with Friends, when you look at Chandler Bing and Phoebe, but Chandler Bing, the bisexual king that he is, and he's not. And you're like, how is that? How is that? And I mean, at least you had Carol and Susan in Friends. But yeah, in Gilmore Girls, even Michelle isn't explicitly gay until like the reboot, I think. Like, he talks about Celine Dion, but then at some point, there's a point in Gilmore Girls that I'm not going to try and find now. He mentions like women. He mentions being interested in a woman or women, and I'm like, come on now. And yeah, Paris for me. Paris should have been gay, and that annoys me. That annoys me. Another huge annoying thing is that the final season had a different writer because the show's creator, Amy Sherman-Palladino, left for reasons, good reasons. Fair play to her. I respect it. However, it meant that we just got so much. It was like character assassination, where we were like, what? They wouldn't do that. And there was like a weak plot, and the finale was like a bit meh. Like, I cried, don't get me wrong, I cry every time. But do you know what I mean? It could have been better. And what annoys me about it is that she said she always knew how Gilmore Girls would end. And then obviously it didn't end in the way that she planned. And the way that she planned it to end was how it ended in the short films. So when Rory and Lorelei are on the gazebo and Rory's like, I'm pregnant. That's how it should have ended. That's how it was gonna end. And when I found that out, I was so angry because it would have all made sense. Like, it connects everything together, you know? Like, no matter what you are, no matter how far the apple falls from the tree, or no matter how much you try and prevent your children from making the same mistakes or living the same life as you did, it still happens. Do you know what I mean? Rory being pregnant at that age when the show ended would have been a huge kind of, it would have been so impactful. It would have made the show make so much sense. It would have been, I don't know. I love the idea of that ending. Although we might not have ever got the short films, and I know controversial, I know some people don't like them. I personally loved the reboot. I loved the reboot. And I cried like Richard's funeral, and when she does Wild, book not movie, all of that. I just love it. The musical even, I don't care. I love it all. But easily the most annoying part of Gilmore Girls, the most annoying part by a mile, is that Stars Hollow isn't real. what I would give to go to Stars Hollow. Every year, as soon as it turns into autumn, I can hear the la la la, and I can smell Suki's cooking, and I can taste Luke's coffee, and I can even sense the first fall of snow. Like it's such a huge part of my annual routine. Like, it gets to autumn, and everyone's like, Halloween, Halloween, and I'm like, Gilmore Girls. The show is such a huge comfort. Like, it's such a comfort. And even the first time you watch it, even though it's all brand new, it's just a comfort show. And then the rewatches are even more like it because you know what's going to happen and all the stress is gone. But it's like a warm hug. It's like a really warm blanket on the coldest, rainiest of days. Lorelei Gilmore feels like my fast-talking, caffeine-addicted best friend that I get to see once a year, and I just look forward to it every single time. And yeah, the show is annoying. There are so many things about the show that I just find so frustrating, but I also just don't care. When I'm watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, they're all problematic, but do you know what? I love them. I'd do anything for any of them. And yeah, every time I press play on episode 1, season 1, I just get this warm embrace, and I'm like, autumn. I'll see you again soon. If you enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe and the little bell to get notified when I upload. And yeah, I make lots of content about TV, film, music. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, so follow me everywhere, and I will see you soon. Love you, bye.